public humiliation inside the Democratic Party. It's never been this bad. After 40 days, 40 nights of nothing but political grandstanding, a handful of Democrats finally agreeing to end their own party's filibuster, thankfully clearing the way for an end to the longest government shutdown in history. Now, we will check in with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. He will join us. Lindsey Graham will join us. Again, we're still awaiting final passage. Our good friend Stephen A. Smith has a very important message for his fellow Democrats about this shutdown, and he does blame them. And what do Democrats have to show for all of this? There is now an all-out political civil war that has broken out within their ranks, which we will get to in detail. But we do begin with the single most pointless shutdown in American history. Democrats closed your government for nearly 6 weeks. Federal workers went without pay. And look at your screen. Food assistance programs went dry. In fact, 42 million Americans went without SNAP assistance. Meanwhile, you see what's happening at our nation's airports. The FAA forced to cut back flights all over the country. As a result, there were more than 10,000 flight delays in the past 24 hours alone. But that's not all. More than 5,300 flights have been canceled. This is very real pain felt by Americans far and wide, coast to coast, the longest shutdown, as I said, in history. Take a look.
I don't really care what your political persuasion is, but you should really call your senator. Because I'll tell you, this is costing the airlines millions of dollars. And just think of 30 airplanes with one engine running. And it's going to take us at least 90 minutes to take off. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for me.
Oh, there must have been a really good reason for Democrats shutting down the government, right? Your government, and causing so much pain, right? After all, Chuck Schumer has been against government shutdown since forever. His entire career, he was against them. Here's a reminder.
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down? I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way. It's a politics of idiocy, of confrontation, of paralysis. It's sort of like this. Someone goes into your house, takes your wife and children hostage, and then says, let's negotiate over the price of your house. You know, we could do the same thing on immigration. We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say we're shutting down the government. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos. Speaker McCarthy needs to stop letting the MAGA radicals drive his decisions and do the obvious and sensible thing. Follow the Senate's lead and pass a bipartisan CR to prevent this reckless shutdown. We do not want to let a Trump temper tantrum govern our policies or cause the shutdown of a government which everyone on both sides of the aisles knows is the wrong idea.
Wow, times have changed. Now, this is what Schumer sounds like when asked about working with President Trump to reopen the government. Take a look.
So now we're in a government shutdown. And you may be asking yourself, how the hell did we get here? Donald Trump and the Republican Party are hell-bent on taking health care away from 60 million people, closing community clinics, rural hospitals, nursing homes, all so they can keep giving tax breaks to their billionaire friends. It's a disgrace. So Democrats have 3 words for this. No way. It's literally life or death. We will not let Republicans blow up our health care system.
So just what are the extraordinary circumstances? Because, you know, for him to Chuck do a 180 after having one position his entire career and cause the suffering of millions of Americans through this government shutdown, well, according to top Democrats, it was all about, quote, political leverage. They said it out loud. Take a look.
And the White House, frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. And although a very unpleasant tool to use, it's gotten us focused on what we have to do to change direction on health care.
No responsibility on the Democrats, or at least you don't think that the public will perceive that the Democrats are responsible.
Shutdowns are terrible, and of course there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously, but it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Families will suffer, but we need the political leverage. As it turns out, Democrats didn't even really get leverage. This was all much ado about nothing. In fact, Democrats agreed to end their filibuster in return for essentially nothing. None of their idiotic demands were met. Remember, they initially wanted a whopping $1.5 trillion in additional spending to be to be spent on what, hundreds of millions for health care for illegals, extend their subsidies that they voted to be temporary for Obamacare during COVID, or officially, you know, what they call the Affordable Care Act. As my friend Mark Simone said to me today, if it's the Affordable Care Act, why does it need subsidies? And they wanted to fund PBS and NPR and DEI programs around the world. For 7 weeks, $1.5 trillion. In the end, this was all political theater, all aimed at their radical base. But guess what? The Democratic Party's radical base, they're not even happy. Take a look.
It's strange, Dean, to go back to the original sort of part of this conversation of whether he is a good deal maker. I mean, in a way, it seems like the president is kind of getting what he wanted 40 days ago when all this started.
I don't understand how a Democratic senator goes, wow, we won really big. Let me cave now. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power. Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country.
But there's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
Oh, I think this whole thing stinks. And I think most members of the House caucus on the Democratic side are absolutely outraged.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
As I said, a Democratic political civil war. Gavin Newsom desperately wants his party nomination for president in 2028, called the move to reopen the government, quote, pathetic. The socialist base wants more than just performative gestures, and this shutdown just exposed the single largest divide in the Democratic Party, frankly, in our lifetime. Now, tonight, they are at war with themselves. Party leadership is losing. Chuck Schumer will soon be political roadkill at the end of all this by his own party. We'll have more on that in a second. The radicals now reign supreme. Democrats could barely cobble together the handful of votes needed from retiring senators like Jeanne Shaheen and Dick Durbin to reopen the government. Almost every senator was just too terrified to vote against this radical socialist base that is the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And this is likely the end, as I said, of Chuck Schumer. In fact, Democrats, they are already calling for his exit. We're going to play that in a moment. But first, even before the shutdown ended, well, you had socialist AOC openly challenging the Senate leader. This is a powerful moment.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on 2 fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future.
Chuck Schumer's days in the Washington swamp are officially numbered, so be on the lookout for an announcement from Chuck. He's no longer seeking re-election or leadership. Hakeem Jeffries also knows that his standing in his party is in peril. Again, AOC, and I've been saying this for years, she's really in charge. Mamdani is in charge. The squad is calling the shots. Every other elected Democrat is merely trying to tiptoe around the real power base in the Democratic Party, who demand a brand of politics, I believe extreme, that the Democratic Party of just a few years ago is completely, I find it unrecognizable. This is officially the party of the squad, Bernie Sanders, Zora Mamdani, and Jasmine Crockett. Just listen to Secretary Scott Bessent embarrassed Georgie Stephanopoulos over this very issue this weekend on ABC. Take a look.
George, the best way to do it, and look, you were involved in a lot of these in the 90s, and you basically called the Republicans terrorists, and you said that it is not the responsible party that keeps the government closed. And so what we need is 5 brave, moderate Democratic senators to cross the aisle, because right now it is 52 to 3. 52 to 3. 5 Democrats can cross the aisle and reopen the government. That's the best way to do it, George.
I can disagree with you about the history there, but we don't need a history lesson right now.
George,
let's talk about what's happening right now.
If you want, I've got all your quotes here. I've got all your quotes here, George.
I'm sure you do.
But
let's talk about the situation right now.
Read your book. So you got one purchase on Amazon this week, and that's very much what you said.
Checkmate. And while Democrats and the media mob played a weird game of political chess with their socialist base, President Trump, he's trying to spend every day creating new policies, help everyday Americans, including a possible dividend paid out to Americans funded by the new tariffs that are bringing in billions of dollars. Now, along with a proposal for a new 50-year loan to make housing more immediately affordable, which, by the way, likely will be the case with the new and sensible Fed chair, the president working to reward federal employees that never wavered under the shutdown with a potential bonus to air traffic controllers who didn't miss a day despite missing multiple paychecks. President Trump is offering a huge contrast to the insanity of the left. In fact, only one U.S. senator has been against his party's extreme politics from day one. That's John Fetterman.
Her relatives must be so grateful. But deprogram in some way. Isn't that what ABC wanted to do with Jimmy's show? But she means rescuing someone from brainwashing, and that someone is her. Which is kind of good news, a patient finally realizing the answer to her affliction, and it makes sense. Oh, God, she's so tired of being angry all the time. But that's not a condition, that's a choice. You can't spend all day spanking yourself and then wonder why your ass hurts. We all have the power to decide what we do with our brains. You fill your mental shelf space with one relentless thought, and that's all you're going to experience. It's like the women at my gym when they see me doing squats. You end up programming yourself to believe all men have unbelievable quads. But as Scott Adams says, you are what you think. And that explains why so many Democrats have gone nuts. If all you think about is Trump hate, it's going to come at a cost to all your other thoughts, which may be why this estrangement thing is a bigger problem for the left. A recent survey found that 50% of libs would cut off family over politics. Only 11% of righties would do the same. Some Nazis. I mean, sure, liberals can annoy us, but sometimes it's nice to hear from a rational Democrat, like during the holidays or when they announce that your macchiato's ready. So, like a week-old chalupa coursing through Jerry Nadler's bowels, this estrangement only goes in one direction. Why don't we see stories of Trumpers disowning their kin? Maybe it's because we can handle being wrong because it's not tied to our self-worth. But for the left, politics has become so intertwined with ego. And what drives them mad is that we don't share that same defect. There must be something wrong with us, not to care as deeply as they do. Mrs. Kimmel sent a 10-point email to her relatives before the election to sway their vote and was so distraught that no one responded. What did she expect? To hear, oh, you were right all along. How dumb of us not to see the wisdom behind your virtuous concerns. No, they're Republicans. They had better stuff to do. Which leads to a bigger question. Why does the virtuous liberal need you to agree with them? Why is it that so important? Could it be due to their own self-doubt about their own positions? Because if we're not as worked up over Trump as they are, they might wonder, could they be wrong? You saw this with vaccines and masks and lockdowns. When other people started rebelling, they didn't try to persuade those people. Instead, they got angry. But if anyone should take politics personally, it would be us. We, after all, lost one of our own. Charlie Kirk was murdered, and yet we didn't let it consume us. We mourned, we honored him, and we moved forward, leading our lives with politics in the back seat, not the front. That's what Mrs. Kimmel doesn't get, because for them, every political disagreement is a betrayal. They wake up angry, go to bed angrier, and wonder why they can't sleep. Meanwhile, we still manage to live, laugh, and show up to work without getting our shorts in a twist, unless, of course, we want a little extra stimulation. So maybe Jimmy's wife finally stumbled upon her own diagnosis. She's not mad at Trump. She's mad that she gave him squatters' rights in her head. She's realizing her misery isn't coming from her relatives, it's from within. And that the cure for chronic outrage isn't another protest, it's perspective. Put down the phone, stop scrolling, and believing that every different opinion is a declaration of war. You diagnosed yourself, and congratulations, you're now one step closer to a cure. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He grew a beard to stop those texts from Kevin Spacey, host of The Guy Benson Show, Guy Benson. She doesn't want to see a penis in a women's locker room, or anywhere for that matter. Host of Keeping It Real podcast, Jillian Michaels. If he was in a boy band, it would be called No Direction. Comedian Adam Hunter. And for Thanksgiving, her favorite side is homicide. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Tiff. You know what I find interesting about that clip with the Kimmels? Not that he looked miserable, although he did. It was that when people tend to talk off the cuff, they say the truth. And she admitted. She goes, I think I need to be deprogrammed. That's a pretty big step.
She is the head writer of his show.
Yes, and producer.
That explains so much.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Imagine if you were a writer for that show, you would never disagree with the host. Never. You'd get fired.
They were on a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things. They can't even do easy things like not breaking up with your whole family over politics. Like, that is a really disturbing thing, actually, to do. Mm-hmm. And she said in this very passive voice in this interview, quote, I hate that this has happened.
Yes.
No, you did it. Right? It hasn't happened. You've made choices, and you are the one who's actually nuts. Like, she complained that 90% of her family members, that she sent this email begging them how to vote her way. 90% of them did not respond at all. And she was lamenting this. I'm like, no, they are actually healthy people. That is the healthy response here, is to not write a lengthy diatribe in response. It's to say, oh, it's an email from Molly, delete.
Exactly. We get those. You delete them. You don't read them. Have you ever been, like, delisted for your positions?
Well, I would say that I have family members who strongly disagree and are probably somewhat horrified that I work here. But guess what? We don't. It's true. But we don't talk about it. I think that they're like way off the deep end on other things. And we just make a point not to go down that route because we want to remain friendly and loving like family members should be. I think that is the healthy thing. She realizes that she's not healthy. She said, I'm angry all the time. It's not healthy. Girl, you are making a choice to stay angry. It's sort of actually sad.
No, it is. You know, I got to ask you, Jillian, because I didn't know anything about your politics at all. And I think it came to you relatively later and recent in life. So you must have disappointed people. Do they no longer speak to you?
There are several. There are.
Yeah.
But, you know, in watching her diatribe there, you know, she says she's angry all the time, and I believe her.
Yeah.
She's made that very clear. But she also goes on to talk about how we're all so misinformed and how much she cares about family values. And I just wonder, are you informed on what happens to a child when you give them off-label cancer drugs for gender dysphoria? They're permanently sterilized. They have sexual dysfunction for the rest of their lives. Are you informed what happens when borders are open? The ways in which cartels traffic children? We lost 250,000 of them under Biden. Did you know? Are you informed what happens? And this will be my last one, but I could go on and on at this Thanksgiving dinner. What happens when you put a male athlete in a boxing ring with a female athlete? They get their faces punched in. We all watched it during the Olympics. So if we're the ones that are misinformed, that's horrifying because this is what you are voting for. I'm sorry.
You know what's, you make a great point. You can clap. Go ahead, clap. Clap all you want. You know what you're
She's misinformed.
You know what the key word
and I'm pissed about it, and I don't want to be her friend.
The key word you kept saying is informed. That she is living in a previous world, like a dead world, where she believes she's the one that's informed and the rest of us aren't. No, none of us are. None of us have ownership over the truth. For her to think that way is insane. Speaking of insane, which Power Ranger did you mug to get that jacket? Is this what Wesley Snipes pawned to get out of jail?
Yes. I robbed all of them together. But no, like what she was saying, if it's your family...
What's she, Jillian?
What Jillian, yeah. If it's your family, you can't just cut them off. I mean, that's insane. I'm like, look, people have differences. I'm Jewish. My wife is Christian, right? Like for our holidays, she got our baby a teddy bear that says the Lord's Prayer, and I got her one that complains it's too expensive. You know, but like differences are what make like there are family members that I actually should cut off, like that I don't. Like at my wedding, I had someone didn't get me a wedding gift, and they're like, I'll get you on the next one. But you got to look past it. Yeah. And because, Greg, I don't know if people know, I write for the show, so I have to watch Jimmy Kimmel clips. Yes. And there was one where he was, I turned it in, it was Drag Queen Story Hour. Right. And the kids were like, who is that guy with no testicles and the drag queen?
Yes.
I got it. I got it.
There was a delay.
Yeah, Jimmy has no testicles.
Yes, that was
you.
No, but he was gesturing. He was gesturing at me.
No,
I was like, leave me out of this.
I'm sure your testicles are fine.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
fine. Your jokes were as fast and furious as that jacket. Hey. Kat. I caught that. Kat, don't you think her relative... Okay. Wouldn't you have loved to see like how her relatives reacted when they got this 10-point email? But also, you know that they are so happy they don't have to deal with her, right?
Yes, because
she said she disowned them.
Right, and they're probably like, oh no. No one responds to a 10-point email about anything.
No.
If I see more than 2 points, I black out, I get stressed out, and the circuit goes on, and I just can't anymore. So the only way you respond to a 10-point email is either you don't, or you do have one other option, is you just reply, all good.
Yes. Oh, good.
Because then after they spent all that time writing all that stuff and you respond with 2 words that you're not really clear on what you meant, like what's like all good, like that I said it?
You agree?
Or are you all good with what I said? So that's just a little trick that everybody can use.
Yes. You know what?
Now I've like told on myself for the next time I do it to you.
Yeah. I don't send those, but here's another trick. Okay, when somebody either gives you 10 points, it's called list persuasion. When somebody sends you a list of stuff, it's an old Scott Adams trick. You go, okay, give me, what is your strongest point on the list? And let's talk about it. Because if you win that one, then obviously it means you win all of them because it's the strongest one. Generally, most people who do list persuasion will say, oh, there's just too many. It's like when you see the interviews, like, why do you hate Trump? And they go, there's so many things. Give me one. And they go, but there's so many. Just give me one. The people who do the list of persuasion just ask for their best one and then argue with it. And then you go, okay, I guess we're done. So that works. But they never will do that. They will say it's too hard. Then you pick it. And then you take it and run with it. Anyway, that's your little persuasion lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed it.
All good.
All good. You notice I controlled my finger. I was going to flip her off, but I controlled it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.